The first time I stepped foot in a Harbor Freight, I was like a kid in a candy store. I was amazed with the variety of tools, and the prices seemed almost too good to be true. Now with over 1,400 stores spread across the country, countless other people are sharing that same sense of discovery. But let's face it, Harbor Freight can be a labyrinth of coupons, club memberships, and other shopping tactics that can leave you scratching your head and wondering if you're really getting the best deal. That's where I come in. I've spent the past few months reaching out to both current and former Harbor Freight employees to really get to the bottom of the insider secrets that'll supercharge your next visit to Harbor Freight. So buckle up and get ready while I share those insider secrets that'll make your next trip to Harbor Freight the best it's ever been. Harbor Freight has a loyal following that has grown like crazy over the past few years, especially recently as they're opening up more stores in more and more locations across the country. And I, for one, really like Harbor Freight. It's a great place to buy tools, but there's also a few things that you need to know in order to get the biggest bang for your buck. Now, I reached out to a lot of people to make this video, but not everyone was willing to talk, and the very first response that I got back was this. Hey Dave, I appreciate you reaching out to me. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to discuss the company. Any information that you need, you'll have to contact our marketing department. Now, I understand that most companies have a general rule about dealing with the media, if you can even call me that. But luckily, not everyone that I spoke to towed the company line, and I learned a lot of interesting things. Now, when I talked to these current and former Harbor Freight employees, I asked them a bunch of questions like, what tools do you see get returned a lot? And what are the best and worst items to buy? I asked people when the best times to shop were and whether the warranties are really worth it. I also asked them what general tips or tricks they had to get the best deals, and I learned a lot, so let's get right into it. Let's start with coupons. Harbor Freight is known for their coupons, and knowing how to work the system will help you save a lot of money. The secret about Harbor Freight coupons is that there is no reason to buy anything from Harbor Freight without a coupon. It's part of their business model, and it's one of the marketing tactics that they use to encourage people to shop or to buy certain items. A former employee that I talked to gave this advice. He said, go in with a plan on what you're going to get because like 60% of the stuff in there has a coupon for it. So how do you get these coupons? Well, Harbor Freight stopped issuing coupons for a short time during the pandemic, and since then they don't mail them out like they used to. Today, if you want their coupons, you need to sign up for their email mailing list, or you can give them your phone number and they will send you coupons via text. The current and former Harbor Freight employees I talked to also keyed me into a few things that they have seen their customers use. For example, there are some apps and websites that collect Harbor Freight coupons. One of the best is the Harbor Freight Coupon Database, or hfqpdb.com. You can also find some apps that do the same thing. Because everything is run off of the barcode, it doesn't matter if it comes from a third-party website or directly from Harbor Freight. You can still use it. Harbor Freight itself does have a good website and app, and you can get the coupons from there as well, but just keep in mind that they only have what's current. Some of the other websites have some older coupons that have no expiration date, like these, and they'll still work. One of the things that I do to make my life easier as I shop and to move things along at checkout is that I will take a screenshot on my phone of all the coupons that I plan to use. Then just go through my gallery at checkout and have them scanned directly on my phone. It works like a charm. Now that brings me to another point. Harbor Freight is very strict on their coupon policy, so be sure to read the fine print. If the coupon says that it's only good for one item, or that it's only good for certain dates, they will stick to those terms and won't ever deviate. Also, if it says that certain items are restricted and the coupon doesn't apply, don't argue with the store associates because there's nothing they can do to change it. Now, I spoke with someone from Harbor Freight's marketing department last year, and one of the things that I learned from him was that Harbor Freight doesn't actually do any regional pricing. And what I mean by that is that the price for a drill in Los Angeles is exactly the same price for a drill in Emporia, Kansas, or Watertown, Wisconsin. I think that's kind of neat, as a lot of companies will price things more expensively in different markets. The reason that I bring that up is because the marketing guy mentioned to me that the exclusions that they list are strategic, and those items are already priced competitively. And if they were to reduce the price, then they would lose money on them, and that's why they're excluded on many of those coupons. So just to recap the main tips on coupons. Sign up to receive coupons. Check out third-party websites, go in with a plan on what you're going to buy and what coupons you plan to use, and be prepared with screenshots at the register. All right, next let's talk about returns and warranties. One of the questions that I asked to the current and former employees that I talked to was what items they saw returned most frequently and what items were rarely returned. Here are a few things that I heard. The machetes were one of the most returned items. In terms of hand tools, the steel was just trash. We never, and I mean it, see the Hercules stuff come back broken. Bauer and Warrior, absolutely, but not Hercules. They're built to a higher price point. The Icon tools are outstanding and the Daytona jacks are bomb-proof. The stuff that comes back broken or people are unsatisfied with, cheap stuff. Thin tarps, cheap power washers, or chainsaws. Harbor Freight accepts returns on almost everything within 90 days of purchase, and if for any reason you're not satisfied with one of their products, you can bring it back. You do have to have the receipt, however, so be sure to hang on to that. Now, another tip from me and something that I do is I always take a picture of my Harbor Freight receipt, so that if I do happen to lose the paper, I can still return something if I need to. Again, all they need is the barcode. A couple other things to be aware of, however, is that for some tools, Harbor Freight will charge a 20% restocking fee. I think that this is done to discourage people from abusing the liberal return policy. In fact, one of the former employees that I talked to said this: honestly, they have a huge amount of returns, but it is almost entirely people scamming the liberal return policy. Basically, it was Harbor Freight tool rental. If you have a weekend project, buy the tools, then on Monday just return them all. The cashier simply asked if it was broken or not. The people said no, I just don't like it, and that's it, free tool rental. I'm not sure if I ever saw anything that was actually broken because of bad quality. So, Harbor Freight tool rental, another tip I suppose, but for me, if I buy a tool, I want to have it for other projects in the future, so I'm not going to go through the hassle of driving back to Harbor Freight to return it, unless it was in fact broken, damaged, or I really hated it. But it is good to know that they have a return policy if you need it. One thing to keep in mind is that if you do happen to exchange the item for another of the same item, they will waive the restocking fee. All in all, this helps customers feel more comfortable about buying from them. Now, before I give you the next tip, if you are enjoying this video and if you're learning something from the tips that I'm sharing with you, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Also, if you yourself have any Harbor Freight tips, things that you've done in the past that seem to work really well, be sure to add a comment below and fill us in on it. Now, here is another tip on returned items and warranties. A current Harbor Freight employee told me that you can use your warranty to trade up to a new or better item. So, for example, if you buy the Central Machinery sander and spend maybe $15 on the extended warranty, before that warranty is up, you can bring that item back in and exchange it for a brand new one, or you can pick out the higher quality Bauer model and use your warranty to exchange up. If there happens to be a coupon, or if you're an Inside Track Club member, you can oftentimes get an even trade or just need to pay a small amount for the difference, and you get a better tool. All right, next let's talk about clearance or discounted items. At Harbor Freight, you may notice that the price tags sometimes have different colors. These colors indicate price changes, but for the most part, they don't mean much to anyone outside of the company, all except for the purple ones. Purple price tags indicate clearance items. These are usually items that are being discontinued or replaced by newer versions. Coupons don't generally work for clearance items, but if you see something that has a purple price tag, it is likely the lowest price it will ever be. The clearance items are usually at the back of the store, so look for those. And right now is a great time to look at clearance items because Harbor Freight is actually doing a lot of work to try to rebrand themselves and to replace their older brands and tools with higher quality versions, or even just slight modifications in some cases to parts and features. This means that you can get some great new tools at heavy discounts. Here's another tip. Every Harbor Freight has a table like this, usually at the front of the store, with as-is items for sale at a deep discount. These are generally items that were opened and returned, or items that may be missing a few pieces. If you ever buy one of these items, make sure that you check it out as soon as possible when you get home to make sure that it works, as these items only have a 5-day return policy. I've also been told that store managers have the power to negotiate the price of some of these opened, returned, or as-is items, so always ask to see what they can do for you. All right, this brings me to my next tip on product disposals. Sometimes stores will get items that were damaged in transport or items that were returned that they cannot resell. Every retail company has to deal with this, and they call it damaged inventory or shrink. And every company has procedures in place to dispose of that inventory. Some retail companies have their merchandise sent back to some central location for refurbishment or disposal. And some companies expect that each retail location itself should dispose of the unsellable merchandise. And what that means is that they just throw it in a dumpster most of the time. I'm not sure exactly what Harbor Freight's policy is, but here's what a current employee told me. Some things people don't realize about Harbor Freight is that they will throw out a lot of returned items, things they can't sell or send back to the manufacturer. For instance, we had to throw away a 56-inch toolbox because it got damaged in shipping, and the back was dented so the drawers wouldn't open. They just rolled it out behind the dumpster. I picked it up after work, popped the dent out, and had a nice free toolbox. So it may be possible to go dumpster diving and find some treasures at Harbor Freight. But before you get all excited and pull out your dumpster gloves, there are a couple of things you should know. First is the question of whether dumpster diving is even legal where you live. Well, that answer is a bit complicated, but I was able to find a Supreme Court case, California v. Greenwood, which established that searching through trash is legal in all 50 states as long as it doesn't interfere with other laws in a given area. So before you go out, you'll need to look up the local laws in your area to determine if it's even legal in the first place. A general rule of thumb is that unless it's concealed, chained, or locked, it's probably fair game. But again, check your local laws. Now, I myself tested whether this would even be a good idea and went out to check the dumpsters at my local Harbor Freight on 2 separate occasions. The first time there was a few garbage bags, but mostly a bunch of broken down cardboard. I wasn't in the mood to dig through trash on my lunch break, so I'm not sure what exactly was in those bags, but there wasn't any obvious good stuff. The second time, there was just a bunch of cardboard. Honestly, I'm fairly skeptical as to whether this would even yield anything, mainly because Harbor Freight sells a lot of their damaged goods anyway. But who knows, it may be worth a shot. Let me know if you guys have ever had any success with something like this. Now, I've also been told by other employees that some of their returned or damaged goods will actually be shipped on a pallet to a liquidation company who will sort through them and sell the leftovers. I suppose that is how some of these Harbor Freight tools ended up at a Ross. Now, this is hilarious to me because they're charging at Ross a lot more than they even cost at Harbor Freight. All right, so that is a lot of tips, and this video is getting pretty long, but I still have a bunch more that I got from these current and former employees. And so if you want to hear more about what I learned, let me know in the comments. And if there's enough interest, I'll make a part 2 to this video. Before I go though, let me give you one last tip on the Inside Track Club. Now, this is Harbor Freight's membership club. Just like a lot of other companies, they charge you an annual fee, but give you lots of discounts and better deals throughout the year. Currently, to join, it costs $29.99. Now, unlike a Costco or Sam's Club membership, you don't have to have one to shop there, but they do give you a lot of discounts if you do have one. Now, to say whether it's worth it is subjective because it depends on how much you shop there and what you buy. What one current employee told me, however, was that oftentimes, especially if you're making a big purchase on something like a large tool or a toolbox, by signing up for the Inside Track Club when you make your purchase, there may be enough discounts for you to get the membership for free or save even more money by signing up. So always be sure to ask your cashier to see if they can help you out there. Again, I love Harbor Freight, and using all these tips and strategies will definitely help you save some time and some money and help you get the biggest bang for your buck. As I mentioned before, I have a lot more tips to share, and so if you're interested, leave me a comment and let me know that you want to see that part 2. Be sure to also subscribe to my channel and check out this playlist full of other Harbor Freight videos. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.